Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. And today's our topic is about Firestore. Uh, I'm gonna uh, show my badge here. In this badge, I'm gonna discuss uh, all the first four criteria uh, and uh, let's get started with it. Okay, the first one says discuss the types of problems Firebase tries to solve. Firebase, it what is Firebase actually? Firebase is a tool which helps us, the developers, to solve many problems and so that we can focus on building the apps while it handles the server side logic. How does it help? Okay, let me show you Firebase console here. Okay, I have a demo project here, and when you look on the left side here, these are the problems that we face while developing a project. Like if we take authentication, this deals with logging in users, logging out users, and showing the appropriate content to the only logged in users. All these stuff is taken care by authentication. Authentication deals with whenever a user want to sign up, all it it provides the logic for the sign up that you can use in your project, and uh, it stores all the users that are members of your app. um, like if a member who is not a user tries to sign in, it avoids them to sign in into the app and give all the private information to them. It stops from doing that. Yeah, that kind of thing is taken care of by Firebase's authentication. And what is Firestore database? It's a cloud database where we can store data that we need for our project into this database. And in the next video, I'm gonna make another video on hosting, Firebase hosting, where we can host our app using Firebase. These are some of the problems that Firebase tries to solve. And let's get started with our thing here. Okay, the next one says integrate Firebase with an existing front-end application. I'm gonna show you how we can integrate Firebase in an application, and how we can create data and read data and update data and delete data into the Firebase's Firestore. And also we can query data in Firebase and display the array of responses in front end application. We can show all the data that is stored in Firebase into our application. Okay, let's get started with it. For this video, I have already made a project in VS Code. I have already set up the project. Here, this project is about a grocery list where a user enters what he is going to buy and how many of them he is going to buy, and then it lists all the things that the shopping list displays the shopping list kind of. This is the project where there are two inputs which takes what item we are going to buy here, and this one is for number of that item. And when we add, click this button, it's gonna show in the list bottom here. And yeah, that's the basic thing we are gonna achieve now. And let's see. And also we are going to use Firestore. Whenever we add an item, the item that we add is going to stored into the Firestore database. I'm gonna show you how to set up Firebase in our application first, and then we can jump into storing data into Firestore. Okay, first we have to install Firebase into our application. How can we do that? Let's see. Okay, first we need to create a Firebase project. How we are gonna go? First we need to go to the console and click add project. So let's go to the project here. This is the console, and here if I click add project, we are gonna add a project. I already have a demo project, but let me show you how to create a project here. Okay, first we enter a name. Let's say Firestore demo. Continue, and we disable the analytics and create a project. It's gonna take some time to create a project. I think this is done, and let's continue. In here, first we are gonna create an app. That app we are gonna use it in our project. To create an app, I'm gonna press the web, and we register the app by giving a nickname, like let me say Firestore demo, just like that. Register app, and then we are gonna save all this information into our project. In here, first we need to install Firebase in our project. This is the command we are gonna use to install Firebase into our project. It's gonna take some time, and after installing, we are gonna copy paste this into an firebase.js file that we are gonna create inside src folder. Create a file called firebase.js. Okay, inside this firebase.js, the Firebase is installed. I'm gonna copy, Control V. Okay, before this, I think we need to import few things. We need to require this. So we are gonna import Firebase Firestore. And also import Firebase from Firebase app. This is the main thing that we need. We're gonna import that, and also the Firestore, as we are using Firestore in this project. Now as we have set up our config, let's go back here and press continue to console. Okay, we created an app, and now we are gonna create a database. Click on Firestore database here and click create database and start in test mode. Next, leave the time zone. I'm gonna leave the time zone as is here, and it's gonna take some time to create the database. This database, in Firestore database, the data is gonna store like JSON objects. It has collections. Inside these collections, we can create documents. Like if we say start a collection called, as we are going to write grocery items, I'm gonna create items collection, and we can, if we want to have an auto ID, so that we don't need to ID it every time, we can press auto ID here. But I'm gonna give auto ID for now, and we can change that later. It's gonna create a document with that id, and we can store our data here. Like if we want to store the name of the item that you are storing, you can say name apple count 6. Like that we can store the data in the fields that we are going to do in our application. Let's get back to our application now. And in here we are gonna create a reference for our fire we are gonna create a reference for our Firestore, just like that. Okay, now let's get into building our project. In this project I have, as you can see here, I have two inputs and an add button. So whenever I give input something, it has to, whenever I click the button, it has to take the input. Okay, to do that, first we're gonna go back to our project and we're gonna see this form here. It has a label, enter an item, and the control is the input that we are giving. Here I'm gonna say give it a name called item, and also it's gonna take value. We are gonna change that in some time, and whenever we change, we're gonna say on change handler, it's gonna take an arrow function, and this arrow function takes event as parameter. So the same thing we are gonna copy paste to our count. Okay, whenever we are changing the items input, the value is stored into said item's name. Whenever we are changing the count input, the value is stored into the count property in the item state. Okay, using that item, we are gonna change the value here. So whenever the value changes, it's gonna get item.name. If not, it's gonna be an empty string. Same with the count, it's gonna get item.count, or it's an empty field. So we have our input set up, and now we are gonna go to our add button. So on the add button, whenever we click, it's gonna call a function, And this function also uses an arrow function, say add item, and this is gonna take event as parameter. And now we are gonna create add item just like so. Const add item equals, which takes event as parameter, and we're gonna say event dot prevent default, just like that. Whenever add item is called, we are gonna call the add we are gonna add it into our Firestore. How can we do that? We are gonna say, let's say add document, this add document should belong to firebase.js. We're gonna create that function in Firebase, which is gonna be an asynchronous function. So I'm doing it right now so that I don't want to forget about it and get errors again. So I'm gonna await for this add document. Let's go back to firebase.js. Inside here we are gonna export it to const add document. It's gonna be an arrow function. Oopsie. And this is an asynchronous function, so I'm gonna put async. Okay, we have to send our item state as it is holding all the item that we are adding using our input fields. So we are gonna send that item state here, and we are gonna receive it here just like so. And we are gonna use the database reference Firestore reference db dot collection. The collection name is items, if you remember correctly, and inside this items I'm gonna create a document that takes the id as item.name. So if we are sending apple will be the id for that document, because I'm giving item.name as the id here. And we are gonna set item into that document, and this is an asynchronous function, so I'm gonna await for it, and that's it. I think whenever we click add button, it should store inside our Firestore. Let's see if it is working or not. And there is a error here. So add document, this function we did not import into our app, so we are gonna do just like so. So it imported add document and everything is fine, and it compiled nicely. And let's go to our project here, and just to make sure, I'm gonna say, before doing this, I'm gonna show the Firestore. It's empty right now. So whenever we add apple and 3 apples and say add, it should have added apple. Yes. When I click apple, it has count 3 and the name apple. Yeah, we created a document in our Firestore successfully. And I see a problem here. Whenever we add data, it's not going away. To do that, go back to our project, and after we add our item into our Firestore, we're gonna say set item to name as empty and count as empty. So this should take care of the problem. Okay, now we have our document set, but what we are missing is whenever we add document, we want to retrieve that data and show it on our page here. How we can achieve that? So inside add item, as soon as we add our data, I'm gonna call get document, or let's say get item, say get items, and we're gonna create a function called get items equals I think this is gonna be an asynchronous function too, which will call get list. Oopsie daisy. Get list. Oh, come on. Get list. Need to create that first. Let's go back to Firebase and say export const get, maybe let's say documents. That sounds correct to me, which is an arrow function. How do we get our documents? We're gonna use our reference DB collection of items dot get. It should return something, so const list equals, what we have to do here is we need to get the data from the reference. So I'm gonna create items, say list dot docs dot map, which takes each item, and it's gonna return an object with item dot data. So now we can return that items object, which has all the data inside Firestore collection items. Okay, now let's get back here and receive that data in here. Just like inside get items, I'm gonna create item const items equals say, what was the function we created? Get documents, right? We're gonna call get documents function, and this items we are gonna, it's gonna be an I think it's gonna be an array of data. So we are gonna create a state called list, set list equals, we have to use state as array. Okay, now we are gonna say set list of items. So now items are stored in our list. We are gonna use the list state and display it in the li, in the ul as lis. So what we are gonna do is list dot map of each item for each item. We are gonna say li key equals item dot name maybe in square brackets, item dot name. I'm gonna display in the same style as like this. Okay, item's name and say scan item dot count, and there is one more span for delete and one more span for change. These are for deleting and editing the data. And I'm gonna end the li just like that. Okay, I think I have got everything. Let's see how any mistakes. Okay, I need to await. This is what I'm afraid of. I need to await for get documents. And there is something wrong. Okay. I wrote the arrow function wrong. And let's check in Firebase too if I'm awaiting. So I'm not awaiting here, which creates a big error. Okay, let's see if we are. I'm gonna refresh this. I did not get apple and 3, so something is happening. Okay, I figured out the problem. Here we are just returning one li, so we don't need the curly braces. We just need to put circle braces, and we don't need semicolon, and I think it should work now. Let's see. Yes, it is working. Let me refresh and add peach with 4. Yes, we are getting the data. I'm gonna quickly take off all the documents here, because if I do many reads, I'm gonna go out of my usage. So I'm just gonna have only apple. Okay, the one thing I told before is my app is gonna show the data only after adding the element, but I want it to show every time I reload the page, whatever the data I have. For that, what I'm gonna use is react.useEffect. In useEffect, if I call get items every time and with empty array, it acts like component did mount. Whenever my app mounts, it's gonna display items that I get from get items, and then it's gonna show in the list. For now, I'm gonna comment this, and what we are going to do next is, whenever the item displays here, whenever I click on delete, it has to delete the item, and whenever I click change, it has to edit the count of a particular item. Okay, how I'm gonna achieve this? First, I'm gonna go with delete. So for every list item, I'm having delete and change. So whenever I click on delete, so on click equals, it should call delete item. Now I'm gonna create delete item here. It's gonna be an asynchronous function, and I'm gonna say delete document. I think this is also an asynchronous function from Firebase, so I'm just gonna say async and await. I'm gonna create delete document inside Firebase. cross function. So it has to know which document I am going to delete. So whenever we are deleting the item, I'm gonna send the item here as a parameter. So I'm gonna send item and say item here, send item here, and I'm gonna delete that in here, delete document. Before that, let me import delete document so that no oh come on, okay, I did not save Firebase. Okay, now come on, did it? Okay, I'm gonna type it manually, delete document. Inside delete document, what I'm gonna do is call the database reference for collection items. Inside this items, I'm gonna call the item dot name document. This document I'm gonna delete. As this is an asynchronous, I'm gonna await for it. Item. Okay, I'm gonna get the item here. Okay, I think everything is fine. And inside here, I'm gonna uncomment this so that I get my data whenever I reload the page. I have delete here. I clicked on delete, but nothing happened. Oh, the item went away. I think I need to refresh the page. We deleted the item now. Okay, now let's get into updating our item. Here we are gonna update for a particular item. Like if we take apple, we are gonna update only the count of like number of the items, number of apples we need. So we are gonna only update the count. For this purpose, I have taken an alert, bootstraps alert here, and I've designed it like this, where the alert shows a form. Inside the form, it's gonna show two inputs. One input for showing which item we are updating. Like if we are updating apple, it shows apple in that input, and it's a disabled input, we cannot change it. And another input where we can change the count of the particular item. Okay, let's see. I'm also using a state here, show, which I've set to true for now to show you how the alert displays. Let's go back to our project here, and this is how the alert displays. Whenever we cross this, it's gonna go away. And whenever we click the button update here, this button, whenever we click the update button, it's gonna update the count of the item. So let's get into it, how we can achieve it. whenever we update, we are gonna update the update state. So let's see the flow now. Where is the alert? Okay, whenever I click on change, it's gonna call update item. Inside update item, I'm gonna set show of true. I'm gonna make it true. By default it has to be false. Let me change it to false to show it to you before I made it true. Okay, we are gonna get the okay, first let me add apple 5 add. Whenever I click on change, it's gonna open, but it's not populated with the data. So what we can do there is, inside the placeholder, I'm gonna put update dot name. I think this is count. Update dot count. That this one has to be update dot name or empty string. Okay, now we updated this. It's gonna display apple and 5 in the respective fields. So whenever we click on the button, it has to change in the database. So how we can do, on click equals we are gonna say what can we call this, update document has to be inside there. Okay, let's say update, just say update info or update count. That's better to say update count. Okay, let's go create update count here. Const update count equals I don't think we need item here. Okay, however, we are gonna updating the count. So what we are gonna send is update item, and this is gonna be asynchronous as it's gonna call update document inside database. So we are gonna create, I'm gonna wait for it, and let's create export const update document. We are gonna get an item, we are gonna update that. So there will be a doc with item.name already exists. We are gonna just update the info. So what we are gonna do is call the collection inside database collection items. Inside that we are gonna call item.name doc, and we are gonna update it with I think update item. That's it. Comma expected. Where is comma? Maybe we need to save it. Okay, arrow function. That's the mistake. We need to wait for it. Oh. And now we need to import it here. Update document and then save this. We're sending update. What's wrong here? Missing semicolon. Error function. Okay, wrong placement. Okay guys, I found the issue here. In update count, after we click the update button, let's see here, when we click the update button, it goes to update count, where we need to update, we are calling update. So we have to use the state update, but I'm sending a parameter here which is an undefined one, so I have to take that off. And now let's see if it is working. And I'm gonna save this and go back to my website here, and then I'm gonna refresh and then say change to 1, say update, and refresh. It is 1. Okay guys, the reason why it is only showing after we refresh the page is that because back in our code inside use effect, this is working like component did mount on. That means only the first time when it mounts, it's gonna display our get items. But if I change this to items here, so whenever items changes, okay, items is not defined, you can't see that items. Okay, it's item, or maybe list, because whenever the list changes, it has to display on the page. So let's see if this works in our app here. Okay, now I'm gonna add a strawberry, and let's say 6 strawberries. Okay, see, it's updating without refreshing. And I'm gonna add one more, say lemon. I need only 3 lemons and add. So I added lemon and it updated without refreshing the page. And when I delete apple, it deleted without refresh. And if I want to change strawberry to 10 and say update, it updated without refreshing. I think that's the issue that happened before, and it was working fine now. And I think I have covered all the Firestore topics in my batch about creating data, reading data, updating data, and deleting data, and also querying all the data from the Firebase into my front-end application. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching my video. Hope you all have a great day ahead, and see you. Bye.